Whoa. No way it actually worked. No way. No way, chat, it actually worked. Chat, are you seeing this right now? There's a transparent chat in the right hand corner. Top right corner, yeah. Seeing this right now? I don't know how it's happened. I don't know why the issue is suddenly gone, but it's actually gone, so let's go. Anyways, let's see. Now, what are we on now? Yes, chat. What's going on? Let's just chill for a moment because I need to check if there are any issues. Okay, I think we're set. Hold on. Yes. Wait, what? So, where is the start? Okay, it's right here. Whoop whoop. Let's see. The sign. The sign in what? Oh yeah. I know that's gonna block some things, but don't worry, I'll figure it out. I don't know how to like get that to be also transparent, chat. Anyways, hello everyone. Welcome back to another SAT study stream. If you're new here, I'm just a 1510 scholar, 1510 scorer, and I'm working towards 1600. And on this channel, I'll be solving SAT questions live without seeing them beforehand. And that's right, I haven't seen any of these questions at all. I only opened this tab, right? I haven't even seen any of those questions. So the goal here is for you guys to learn the approach to solving difficult questions on the SAT, because a lot of SAT resources focus on teaching theory, rules, concepts, and all of that stuff. And most students already know the theory, so what we are going to be focusing on is the approach to the questions. So during these streams, I'll be walking you through my thought process, identifying question types, eliminating answers, recovering from mistakes, and some questions I'll solve really quickly, and some will take quite a long time, and I will probably get a few wrong, but that's all part of the process. And I hope you guys will just understand how to approach the SAT and improve your own approach, or even just develop your own approach to these type of questions. So without further ado, let's get started. So today we are going to be tackling module 2 of math, because we already finished module 1 last week. Anyways, before we move on to module 2, I would just like to address this question, question 26, which I got wrong last time. And because I got it wrong, uh, normally if I get a question wrong, I would address it in the next stream. So let's just address this question real quick. I initially chose the option B because I saw 52 for the first day and 26 for each additional day. However, the best approach to this here is you just make a table, D days, right? So D, if D equals 1 and if D equals 2. So if D equals 1, it's just 52 for the first day. And if D equals 2, it's 52 plus 26 for each additional day, giving you 78, right? And then you just use the slope formula, which is 78 minus 52 over 1, because 2 minus 1 is 1, so you will get 26 as the slope, which is narrows the answers down to only 2 choices, which is A or B, because they have 26 as the slope. And now you just solve for the y-intercept using these 2 points, these 2 points in a graph. It would be, your points would be 1, 52, and 2, 78, and you just solve for the equation using that. So your answer would be A after you do all the math. My approach last time was kind of doo-doo, you know, and I got a question wrong because I didn't look at it closely enough. So the answer is A, and if you got questions, just ask me in the live chat. I will attempt to answer all the questions. Chat, how about if I got it wrong, I have to do 1 push-up? Seriously? No, thank you. I don't have a camera set up. So, without further ado, let's just move on to Module 2, because that's our goal today. Our goal today isn't to just finish the entire Module 2 like I did last time, because last time it was quite rushed. I would just try to solve as many questions as I can and finish it next week. Since number 1, my voice might run out halfway. And number 2, you guys will need to ask questions in the chat, and yeah. So I will be checking chat only once I finished answering a question, so please be patient with me. Let's just get started with Module 2. So question 1, what are they asking us here? A total of 165 people contributed to charity as donor or volunteer. 130 people contributed as a donor. So how many are volunteers? This is pretty straightforward. Out of 165, 130 are donors, so the remaining one, the other 35, would be volunteers. Simple subtraction. Let's move on to question number 2. There are 250 trees in a park, and 6% are birch trees. So how many birch trees are in a park? This is super simple. You just take 250 times 6%, and that would give you 15, I think. Let's just use the Desmos calculator. Right. I assume it's 15. It must be 15. Wait. Yeah, it is 15. Let's move on to question 3. Chat, a loud thunder just struck near your house. That's quite unfortunate. I'm sorry, is it raining right there? Because it's not raining at my place. It's really calm here. So, all's good. Anyways, what are we doing? Alright, we're checking our calculation. 250 times 6%. And it seems I was right, it's 15. Let's move on to our question 3. Let me move chat so it won't block the question. What's the vertex of the graph? A vertex is the pointy edge right here. So that would be 0, x is 0, y is 2. So your x is this, left, right, and your y is up, down. So it's 0, 2, positive 2. Oh, Chad, you need me to speak louder because of the thunder? Yeah. It doesn't matter what you type into Desmos chat, it gives you the same answer. So just use whatever is the fastest for you. Like the fastest option you have to type into Desmos for you isn't the same for me, you know? It's up to it's up to you whether you want to like 6 times 250 over 100 or something. Like for all I care, you can just type in anything that is the same expression and you will get the same answer. Anyways, we would move on to question 4. So usually the first questions would be really, really easy. You see, it's simple subtraction and multiplication. This one is just asking for the vertex. That's probably testing you if you know what a vertex is. And yeah, as expected, question 4 is the same. It's just testing you all of that. And this is simple division because they give you the square mile area and the number of raccoons and they want density in raccoons per square mile. So first of all, if you don't know what density is, you can look at the measure, what they measure it in, and just understand it from that, right? So if it says raccoon per square mile, it means raccoons over square miles, which means you just take the number of raccoons divided by the square miles, even though you don't know what density is. So 2358 over 131, which is 18. Super simple. I don't think you got any questions, but if you have, yes, chat. The fastest option is to use your brain, and Desmos is definitely useful. You have to use Desmos, but you can't depend on Desmos. And no, chat, density is not a Minecraft enchantment for the maze. Density is in this one is the number of raccoons in an area. But sure, whatever you prefer, chat. Anyways, let's move on to question 5, don't we? A data set. If a, if a number from this data set is selected at random, what is the probability of selecting a positive number? So we have 3 numbers and 1 positive number. So it's a 1 out of 3 chance because it is random, right? It can't be that hard. Is chat blocking? Of course chat is blocking, I forgot, sorry. Yeah, as you can see here, you have a data set of 3 numbers, -11, -9, and 27, and you want a probability of selecting a positive number. There's 1 positive number out of 3. So the answer is B. Super simple. You got any questions, chat? Let's move on. A function, so now they're testing you on functions. They give you a function, f of x is that. This is the dollars for 50 crates. Okay. So this is f of x is the fee and x is the crates. So if you want to keep 50 crates, you replace x with 50. Right? So you got 45 times 50 because x is 50 plus 600. I'm pretty sure you don't need parentheses for this. Yep, you don't need parentheses. It's 2850. 2850. Whoops. I don't think I meant to do that. Anyways, chat. If everything is fine, tell me in the chat, and if there is any if there's any questions, just ask me in the chat, and yeah, let's move on. So chat, it seems that you prefer to use parentheses. I personally don't use parentheses for multiplication unless it's really complicated. I just prefer to use the asterisk, which is shift number 8. They use that for multiplication, and if you type x, it won't work. Like 2 times 3, it does not work like that. You have to use the asterisk, just so you know. So let's move on to question 7. They give us a function and they ask us what the value of f1 over 4 is. So you replace x with 1 over 4. So 0 squared is still 0. If you replace x with 1 over 4, 0 squared is still 0. 5 times 0 is 0. So the answer is 11 over 4. Sometimes you should do mental math instead of plugging everything into decimals. Like, look at this mess. It would be better if you just do mental math and you get 11 over 4 as the answer. Right? If you got questions, just ask me in the live chat. Let me scoot chat over this way so it won't block the questions again. Let's move on to question number 8. If 8x equals to 6, what's the value of 72x? 9 times 8 is 72, right? So 6 times 9 is 54. Because 8x times 9 equals to 72x. So you take 6 times 9, that's the same thing, which is 54. You do not need to solve for x for this one. You just multiply. That would be much simpler and saves you a lot more time. Chad, you got any questions? Yeah, mental math is actually underrated. Like a lot of questions on the SAT, you can just do mental math and it will be fine. Like honestly, if you're not a top student and you can't do mental math at all, and I said at all, just use decimals. But then if you can do at least a little bit of mental math, you probably try doing it for like 3 seconds to see if you can actually solve it. If you can't solve it like under 3 seconds, might as well just type it into decimals. Anyways, let's move on to question 9. Which expression is equivalent to that? So this one is actually pretty simple. They're just checking if you can expand, right? If you can expand this. It's definitely not A because 23 times 2 is more than 2x squared. 9 times 2 is not that. It's C. Just do a bit of mental math, chat. It's C. Why is it C? Because if you multiply x in, you just raise everything by 1 degree, which is this, right? And it's definitely not D. Like, D is so obviously wrong. I don't know, chat. I don't think anyone would struggle on these types of questions. But, yeah, for the SAT, you might, if you want speed, you might need to do a bit of mental math. Let's move on to question 10. If you have any questions, just ask me in the live chat. I'll be answering them once I get to that. What question are we on? 10. So what type of question is this, man? It's a simple addition. Because it's addition, just drop the parentheses, right? If it's subtraction, you need to be careful about dropping the parentheses because all the signs inside here are going to be inverted. But then, because it's addition, just drop the parentheses and do mental math. 9 plus 6 is 15. X cubed, because you don't add the powers when doing addition. So it can be A, it can be C. 5 plus, oh, you can't add these two. You can't add 5x and 5x squared. So it will be D. The answer is D. Just do a bit of mental math, guys. Yes, chat. Anything? 10 live viewers? What do you mean at 10 live viewers? What are you saying, chat? I don't understand. Let's move on to question 11. Because our goal is not to finish the entire module at once. Can you hear me? Because our goal is not to finish the entire modules at once, so we're gonna be taking it this slow this time. I mean, of course, we can just finish the entire module at once, but then that would feel a bit too rushed. You know what I mean? Oh, chat, the message did not send. That's kind of bad. Anyways, it seems like my stream is not going so well. The connection is kind of bad. I hope it's not causing any problems. Let's move on. I'll move on to question 11. At a state fair, you can win tokens that are worth a different number of points depending on the shape. So one person got S amount of square tokens and C amount of circle tokens worth a total of 1120 points. This equation represents the situation. So how many more points is a circle token than a square token? So as you can see here, because C is multiplied by 90, then one circle token is 90. And a square token is 80 because it's multiplied by 80. Which means if you subtract it, you get the answer is 10. They're asking how many more points, not how many points, how many more points is a circle worth than a square token. Basically, you just subtract it and get the difference, so it's 10. Chat webcam is not sent. I do not know about that. Let's move on to question 12. If you have questions, you can ask me in the live chat. I'll try to answer them. Let me scoot chat over this way. There you go. 12. In the given scatter plot, a line of best fit for the data is shown. Hehe. They're asking us what is the closest to the slope of the line of best fit. So basically they're asking us for the slope. It can't be 0 because it's obviously sloped. You can try calculating it yourself, or you can just estimate. I prefer calculating it myself. So it's 5, 2. Let's pick the points that are on the line. And 7, 3, so that will be 2. Why? Because 7 minus 5 over 3 minus 2, that's 2 over 1, which is 2. Remember, slope is rise over run, right? So if it's rise over run, it's the vertical over the horizontal change. The vertical change is 2, horizontal change is 1. It doesn't really look that slope for a 2 slope, but then you can see the spacing is different. So yeah, you probably would not want to eyeball every single graph you see, because look at this graph, right? This is like really big and this is like really small. So the slope is going to be, it doesn't look like the actual slope. Anyways, chat, if you have questions, ask me in the chat. Any questions, chat? We're taking it slow today. You can ask as many questions as you want. Well, let's move on, I guess. A circle has a radius of 2.1 inches. Okay. The area of a circle is b pi square inches, where b is a constant. What's the value of b? Okay. So for a circle, the area is pi r squared, and they're telling us the area is b pi or pi b, right? So these two essentially are the same. If you remove pi, then r squared is equal to b. Wait, let me let me just put this so that you can easily like visualize it, because these two are essentially the same. Pi r squared equals to pi b. Cancel pi on both sides. R squared is equal to b, so b is equal to 2.1 squared, which is equal to 4.41. So, anyways, to get the power, you just shift 6. That's how you get a power of something, right? Shift 6. Like you see on top of your 6 on the keyboard, that's like an up arrow thingy. That's how you get exponents. Just in case you didn't know. Most of you would know that, right? Let's move on to question 14. You have any questions, chat? You like pie, chat? Uh, sure. Yeah, I like pie too. It is yummy. But I'm not hungry right now. I already had dinner and everything. And it's not good to eat late at night. So, anyways, chat, let's move on to question 14. You don't seem to got any question. This is another triangle question, which is really annoying. You see all this jargon right here? It doesn't really make any sense, but let's try to make sense of this. So, in triangle XYZ, Y as a right angle. Alright, let's just try to draw that. Y is a right angle. And let's say that's X and that's Z. Point P lies on XZ. Okay, P is somewhere here. P. Ugh, my handwriting, bro. There you go. Recognizable enough. And Q is on Y. What? You gotta be kidding me, bro. Yeah, that's a Q, right? Wait. Yeah. So that PQ is parallel to XY. Yes, sir. If the measure of angle XZY is 63, what's the angle of XPQ? What? What? Huh? Why do you... What? Wait. Let's take this slowly, right? Let's redraw the whole thing so it is like a lot larger. Let's make this a lot, and I mean a lot larger. This is Y. It's a right angle. This is X. This is Z. Point P lies on XZ. This is point P right here. Point Q lies on YZ. This one is 63. So, what do you notice here? We're looking for this one. Well, I noticed in just triangle XYZ, we can find this angle right here. And that angle is 180, which is all the degrees, like the sum of the degrees in a circle, minus 90, because that's a right angle at Y, minus 63 right here. So you would get 27. So angle X is 27, right? And if X is 27, let me just remove all of this. Wow. Okay. If this is 27, like this right here is 27. How do I do this? 27. And let me just clean this up real quick. This is 63. You know, this is 90. This is parallel, right? These two are parallel. So this is a right angle. This is also a right angle. So this is also 90. Wait, that's not a good place to write that. Which means the angle we're looking for is 360. That's a parallelogram. No, yeah, it's a parallelogram. Which is a quadrilateral, a four-sided shape. A four-sided shape, the sum is 360. So you minus 90, minus 90, minus 27. You got 180 minus 27. 180 minus 27, which is equals to 153, I think. Yep, that's the answer we got here, chat. Quite a load of jargon they have right there. Any questions in the chat? No? Ha. I see. Anyways, if you got questions, if you're a future viewer and you got questions, you can ask them in the comments. Let's move on to the next question. An investment account was opened with an initial value of 890, and the value of the account doubled. The value of the account doubled every 10 years. Oh no. Right. Right off the bat, I can tell you is C. Because I hate exponential questions. Anyways, let's just break this down. In an exponential function, as I have said in the previous streams if you were watching, this is the initial value. This is the value is going to be multiplied by, and the one on the bottom is the amount of years for it to reach the multiplier. So for example, it will be doubled every 10 years, then it will be 2, and then 10. If it will be halved every 10 years, it will be A, right? If it would be multiplied by 10 times every 2 years, it will be D. One way you can check it is because you know it will be doubled every 10 years. So double of 890 is 1780. You just substitute 10 into the equation and see if you get 1780. Don't recommend doing that, but if you're absolutely clueless on exponential equations, just do it. It might take a long time, but if you will probably not be short on time on module 1, but be careful on module 2 though, because everyone is always short on time during module 2. At least I'm short on time in module 2. Yeah, chat. Anyways, chat, let's move on to question 16. Let me scoot that over this way. Whew. Let me take a quick break. Right. Y is always less than X. X is always less than 22. Yeah. Y is always less than X. X is always less than 22. That seems correct. Let's just check. This one, y is more than x. Nope. Y, x is more than 22. X must be less than 22. Y is more than x, and x is more than 20. No. It must be A. For some reason, this is like pretty straightforward. You just look at that, and look at that, and then you see the answer. You got questions, chat? Just ask me. I'll try my best to answer them. Right? Let's move on to question 17. So, which expression is equivalent to that? Well, h is more than 0, q is more than 0. Just go ahead and cancel them out because it's not 0. So if you cancel the top and bottom out, you get h to the power of 10. Remember, when you're canceling out exponents, you just take the top minus the bottom. So 7 and 21 cancels out, q14. You can also write it as h10, q minus 14. That's something you can do with exponents, but this is the answer we have. And that's the answer choice. So pretty straightforward, just cancel, and then you get that. You got questions, chat? Chat, your sis is crashing out because of no apples. What? No apples? Does your sister like apples a lot or something? I like apples quite a bit, but like I don't think it's the best fruit to eat because most apples would be imported and you do not know what happens when they're being shipped here. So yeah. Anyways, you should probably go buy some apples for her. Or not, because it's 8:39. So let's move on to question 18. You want a solution to the system of equations, and you want the value of 39x basically. Huh. Well, for a system of equations, a neat way you can do that is just type it into decimals and see where they intersect, and then you'll find the solution. So let's do that real quick. 3y equals to 4x plus 17, and negative 3y is equals to 9x minus 23. And there you go, you got your solution. It's right there. Just click on a point. What on earth? What? Yeah, there's no fixing that. We just have to solve it manually. So let's just go to decimals and type it all out because my handwriting is terrible. Right. Okay, so if we flip the symbols of the entire second equation, we get 3y equals to negative 9x plus 23, meaning 4x plus 17 equals to negative 9x plus 23, which means 13x is equals to 23 minus 17, which is 6. If 13x is equal to 6, 39x would be equals to 18. So your answer is 18. Right? Because 13x equals to 6, you multiply that by 3 on both sides. You get 39x equals to 18. Sometimes it's not the best to use decimals because as you can see right here, they gave us this whatever that is. Sometimes those irrational numbers don't really round up correctly. So I'm pretty hesitant to use them. Let's see if they actually do round up correctly. Right, let's copy that. Let's check if using decimals works. Yeah, you're gonna have like this. And in some cases, it will not be a small offset. So for irrational numbers, avoid using decimals. But the more decimal points, the better. Anyways, chat, if you got questions, just ask me. Let's move on to question 19. How many questions do we have left? You serious? We could have finished the whole thing. Anyways, I did say we are taking it slow, so let's take it slow. You know what? Let's not solve question 19. We'll leave that. Yeah, we can leave that for the next. We should leave. Let's see. Let's do question 19. We leave the rest for the next session on Thursday next week. This is a function, testing us on function again. Okay. So the object is this much feet. I don't know. Because it's in feet. Well, normally it would be. Yeah, I assume this is like negative gt squared plus the original. The initial. The what? The initial height. So b must be the initial height. So if b is the initial height, because it's dropped, right? That means v0 is equals to 0. What am I saying? Let me just explain. So when you drop an object, the physics formula would be like negative gt squared. Negative, there's a constant before gt squared, I forgot. Anyways, I think it's 1/2 gt squared plus v0t, which is the velocity, plus h0, which is the height. Because v0 is equal to 0, it's just this and this. This is the height. So b is the height. Yeah? So if b is the height, then your function is negative 16 t squared plus 3,364. And you want to find t, what you want to find where it intersects the graph, the x value, like the final x value, because this is showing the height. When the object reaches the ground, ht equals to 0. The height equals to 0 because it's on the ground. Which means we have to plug everything in, use x because I don't think it would accept t. Plus 3,364. Whoa. There you go. It's 14.5. So the answer is 14.5. Simple enough. So if you got questions, you should ask me in the chat. Yeah, chat, I'll leave the rest for later. It's just this question is... These questions from 20 onward are gonna be like really hard. So I'm just gonna leave them for next session. So next session, you're gonna be seeing harder questions than any of these, right? These are just super simple questions. Just subtraction, multiplication, testing you if you know the vertex, if you know what's density, or if you can do simple division. Probability, I don't even think you're gonna see these type of questions. Super simple. You should probably use the shortcut because you know 9 times 8 equals 72. Like, when they ask you for a value like 72x or something, it usually means you can just multiply it to this without solving for x, as you can see in this. Let me find. As you can see in this other question here. Here, it's asking for 39x, and our solution, we found like 6x equals to 13. So, yeah. I mean 13x equals to 6. So we just multiply 13x by 3 instead of solving for x, which gives us an uh a what? Like a lot of decimals, right? There's a rational number. I think it's 6 over 13, yeah. So chat, I'll leave the other questions for next session. Let's just check our questions real quick and then we'll end the stream early. Yes, the stream is early this time, chat. Anyways, okay, so it's A B C A B A B C A B. Is the chat blocking? I think it is. I should make it like super small. I can see just fine even with the chat blocking. I don't know about you guys, but yeah. Anyways, let's just check our answers real quick. 2,850, 1104. That, C C D D D, C C D D, and D. 4.41. 4.41, okay. 153. 153. CAADB. And CAADB. So we got everything correct this stream. Hopefully we'll get everything correct next stream. And it's really great that we got everything correct this stream, because that means we're not going to be going over the questions next stream. So we can just jump directly to solving these 7 hard questions in Module 2, right? Even with a glance at Module 2, I can tell that these questions are going to be like super tricky. Like, I'm not kidding. So I'll just leave that for next stream. If you want to see me tackle these super tricky questions, you can Thursday next week. I'm not lazy, chat. It's just that if I explain one question, it's gonna take like 10 minutes per question. That's why I'm leaving it until next week. Right? So yeah. That's not that much to do. So let's see if there's any way we could solve any of these questions faster, because speed is essential in the SAT. I think that's the fastest we could have solved any of these questions, actually. Yeah. Anyways, because we still have time, we should go over to Module 1 and see if there are any questions that you guys would struggle with. Just tell me in the chat. Alright, let's just go over Module 1 again. Yeah, this is the point. Just reading a graph. This is just testing your basic subtraction, basic algebra. Yeah, turning a very interesting story into a what? An equation. Yeah. Super simple stuff. Reading a graph again. Basic algebra. Reading another graph. And yeah, I kind of skipped over this question Basically, y equals px plus r is basically just y equals mx plus b. The value of p is 9 because the slope is 9. Triangle questions. Congruent triangle, so E is J, F is K, G is L, so if E is 45, J is also 45. Function, just sub it in. The intersection is the solution to a system of equations. For this one, just yes. Infinitely many solutions, meaning the two equations simplify to the same equation. Circle equations, algebra again, functions. Yeah, this is kind of tricky. You have to just substitute and do some weird stuff. Solution to system of equations, just plug it into Desmos. For this one is, yeah, some questions ask if there is the value shown as the coefficient or the base. Basically, if there's a value shown as the coefficient or the base, you just solve for C. After you solve for C, which is 33, you see if there's 33 in any of these. I mean, you have to solve for C like manually. Anyways, this one is, yup, exponential. So as I was saying, initial, multiplier, and the time it takes. If you guys got any questions, just ask me in the live chat. I'll be explaining them. This one is just basic algebra. There are two approaches. One, you can just make the denominator the same initially, all together. Actually, you can't. Actually, there's only one approach to this. Throw this over to the other side. Like this. Throw it to the other side. And then flip the whole thing upside down. Like, if you want to find a solution, just go check my last live stream. And rate is the slope, rise over run. This one, yeah, just for some of these questions, just use a letter and make it your unknown and write everything as an equation so you can solve for the answer easily. What? Okay. This is a circle, guys. Don't judge the circle. But this is the circle we're solving for this thing because the perimeter, it got to test your knowledge about circles because the radius is always the same everywhere. If you want to find a solution to any of these questions, check out the last live stream, okay? And 4 consecutive odd integers, yep, you what do you call it? You replace them with x plus 2, x plus 4, x plus 6. This is sine, cos, and all the other stuff. And this is, you just find the slope. And you solve and sub in and sub out. There's a lot of stuff right here. And this is the one that we just covered in the beginning. And this one, we just sub it into Desmos and we can find that 6.5 is the answer because the vertex is the minimum, right? So if you guys got any questions, you guys can ask me in the live chat. I'll try to explain the answers. If you want to check out the answers to module 1, that will be the previous live stream. And we covered half of module 2 this live stream. And next week, Thursday, we are going to be covering like the rest of module 2. The rest of module 2 is gonna be like super complicated questions. I only took a glance at it and I can already tell that we're gonna need like at least 5 minutes of explanation for each one if we're gonna cover it in detail. So you guys can ask me questions in the comments if you guys are viewing it afterwards. So that's gonna be it for today's stream. Thanks to everyone who stopped by, studied, and participated in the chat. I hope that seeing the reasoning behind these questions actually helped you approach the SAT a little differently. Not just look at the questions and solve them, but actually understand the fastest way to solve them and understand what they're looking for. Like, they don't really give us like any different questions other than these types of questions, you know? So improving your score, you should remember that improving your score isn't just learning about more content, more theory, but it's more about having a good approach to unfamiliar problems. So if you enjoyed the stream, consider subscribing so you don't miss our future sessions. We will have reading and writing streams on Tuesdays and math streams on Thursdays, 8 to 9. And until next time, keep improving, keep studying, and I'll see you guys next stream. So, goodbye.